Good morning, lovely people of Facebook. It is Monday, the 27th of February, 2023. I'm coming at you live from my boyfriend's house, hence the cow. His decor is a little different to mine. His decor is what is it? Cowboy chic. That's what we. Mine is ADHD chaos. Anyway. Good morning, good morning. I wanted to jump on this morning. Sorry, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Heidi Maver. I'm the author of bestseller Your Child Is Not Broken. I'm also the founder of the Autistic Matters. I'm an autistic ADHD adult. Apparently, I'm a gobby northern bird. That's what someone said to me this weekend. That's gone on my Instagram profile. I'm in my pajamas. I'm the founder of the Autistic Matters. We're an organisation that supports parents and carers of children and young people who have barriers to attendance and who need to unlock support through the British EHCP system. But we do have members in our community from all over the world whose children have emotional-based school avoidance or other barriers to attendance due to unmet need. Good morning. It's the 27th of February, 2023, and it's 9:30 in the morning. I wanted to come and share something with you this morning, which I think might be helpful. I hope might be helpful. Let me know if you can see and hear me with a hey in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from if you're watching live. I'll also pop this on my YouTube channel. So I am an autistic ADHD adult, late identified. I was only diagnosed with ADHD last summer, so very new. Although I knew before that I was good morning, Isha. Good morning. Good morning, all. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning. Good morning, Bakewell. Oh, I love Bakewell. I love that antique shop that's on the little car park, and they do amazing breakfasts. Morning, Kate. Morning, Andrea. Morning, Ruth. Morning, Sarah. Morning, Laura. God, my brain. Anyway, I wanted to share something with you, an experience that I had on Friday. Because here's what happens, right? We're parents, as parents and carers of autistic kids, we get really used to advocating for our children. We get really used to using words like dysregulation and safe space and, overwhelmed. And even though I understand all of these things, and as an adult, as an autistic adult, I have experienced those things. Oh yeah, I'll take some angry faces, Andrea. If you want to drop some angry faces, everyone, that will give us a good boost on the algorithm. You could also share this if you wanted to. Andrea's on it. I will take 30 seconds of angry faces, now go, and then stop. Otherwise, my RSD will do a job on me. Yeah, and as an autistic adult, I have experienced overwhelm, dysregulation, shutdown, a meltdown due to distress. I've had that. That's something I've experienced a lot. And it's something that we, as parents, I think, are used to seeing and also anticipating in our children and young people. On Friday, I had a slightly unusual situation, well, unusual for me, whereby I was overwhelmed and in shutdown, not because of distress, but because of excitement. And it was an unusual experience for me. I think I have experienced it before, but I think when I've experienced it before, it's been around things that were inherently physically motivating. So, for example, I was the producer of one of the biggest burlesque festivals in the UK for 7 years, and that used to be really exciting. And the time that was really exciting was the time that the festival was happening over the weekend. So I was busy. I was running between venues. I was hosting events. I was, counting petty cash. I was, getting by on very little sleep. I was in full on ADHD hyperfocus. So when I was like overexcited and had all of that going on, I had a channel for it. I had like something to focus on, and I had something to kind of like drive that, get that energy out of my body. So to date, I hadn't had this experience that I had on Friday, and I learned so much about it and about myself by having this experience. So I don't want to bang on about it, but I do, and I will. I wrote a book. I don't know if I mentioned. It's gone really well. My book on Friday and Saturday, but Friday especially, something happened, and I think many people shared it at the same time. We got some traction. It was climbing the charts, and it ended up at number 3 on Amazon.co.uk for all books, right? Which I still think about it, and I kept, and I have this compulsion where I'm logging in to look at my sales figures, and like I'm in a bit of a compulsion cycle with that. I'm working on that, don't worry. But anyway, it was really like overwhelming, and just a lot, and because it was a good thing that was overwhelming, I was in a bit of a shame cycle with it and a shame spiral with it, where I was telling myself there's no need to be like overwhelmed by this. This is a good thing. Like, this is amazing. This means that people are hearing those stories that we have all so wanted to be heard for so long. And this book is resonating with people. This book is helping people. And this book is getting the profile that you wanted it to get. Not for myself, don't get me wrong, I'm not without ego, but because I wanted those stories to be heard, and because I want to work with the other advocates and the other authors in this space on moving the dial on what we know and what we say and what we share about particularly neurodivergent children in the school system. And I was doing that thing where I was like, you're being silly for feeling so overwhelmed. Also, full disclosure, my Auntie Flo is visiting this week, and that always messes with me a little bit when it's Rag Week. So yeah, like I say, it's Shark Week this week, and I'm going to try and find as many different ways to say that. For those of you who are not good at inference, I'm on my period. So my regulation is always a little bit off when my special visitor is here. So I think that added to it. And I think I do probably also have PMDD. So anyway, that's by the by. So on Friday, I was just really discombobulated, right? I needed and was stimming a lot. So there was lots of this happening. There was lots of rocking. There was lots of pacing. I was feeling what we call in our house aggy, right? Why would I think you had an actual Auntie Flo who was visiting? See? Yeah, I was very, very anxious. And I was feeling that anxiety in my chest, but it wasn't anxiety. I knew it wasn't anxiety, but I was just extremely overwhelmed. And to the point that I couldn't really process or like explain and I was trying to explain how I was feeling to try and work out how to like process it. But it was really, really, really like discombobulating. It's a great word, discombobulating. So oh my God, people call their things quite strange. Yeah, Sarah's saying this. Attention or emotion, though negative or positive, takes time to process. It's important to feel. Doesn't matter what the emotion is. It's really important to feel and be present when we can. We call it feeling unnecessary. Do you know what it is? I'm realizing that more and more that I definitely have alexithymia, which is where you have where you don't know what your emotions are. I have a delayed response to emotions, trauma, big feelings, excitement, whatever it might be. And I think what happened on Friday was the combination of, Auntie Flo being in residence and, 5 weeks of intense excitement and worry and overwhelm and busyness and a week in London, and just all kind of came together. The reason I wanted to share it is because I wanted to share how it felt, because it really reminded me that although we're used to the language of dysregulation and safe spaces and needing time, I am guilty of this too. When Theo is dysregulated, I do and can get very frustrated, and I lose sight of the fact that this is not intentional. And on Friday, I was so much in overwhelm that my behavior, probably almost certainly from the outside, looked really peculiar and might have been distressing for other people. And it was not distressing for me, but it was kind of discombobulating. I'm going to make some t-shirts that say discombobulated on them. That's what we need. Anyway, I it reminded me, it didn't even remind me, it showed me what it's like to be in that place as an autistic person where all the feels are giving you all the overwhelm and you just cannot control it. And I wanted to share that what we need to be aware of for our children and young people is that that happens as much with excitement as with distress. And it looks the same. For me, it does. So the only difference was I wasn't tearful, but I did feel tearful. And I felt like I needed to either go for a run. I don't run, I can't run. That wasn't an option. Drive really fast. Like I was like, shall we go to like a go-karting place so I can like drive around the track really fast? Or get drunk. And I do and have made no secret of the fact that I use alcohol as a self-regulatory, medicating tool, and I have for a long time. And it's something that I have been working on for a good long while. And in times like that, I was like, oh my God, I need a drink, right? I think what's really important is to recognize that what was going on for me on Friday is what happens for many of our children a lot of the time. And it was frightening. It was overwhelming and it was frightening and it was destabilizing. And I was worried about myself because I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, and I was engaging. Like, it was so funny because Theo was like, come on, Mum, get up, do some star jumps. And he was like giving me stretches and stuff. And like, it made me realize just how much better at sensory regulation he is than I am, because he was talking me through different things and I'd be like doing big swings and stuff. At one point, I took my glasses off and I was like, please just do this on my face. And he was going, I was lying on the floor and he was lying on top of me doing me a human blanket. I needed like big sensory input. That's what I needed. I needed to like do a flipping bungee jump or something. I just needed to process and get that energy out of my body, you know, in a safe way. But it needed to be, I didn't need calming activity. I needed stimulating activity. And that's quite unusual because usually when I'm distressed, overwhelmed, I need calming activity. I need, for example, a bath or, you know, the singing bowls, or to lie in bed and listen to a podcast, or gentle physical touch. I need those things. But this, I needed like that. I needed a good smack around the face. I mean, I didn't, but you know what I mean? I needed like, what's that word? Stimulating activity. And my body was craving it and I couldn't get it. And it was so discombobulating. And even though I knew that that's what was going on for me, I couldn't articulate it. Like, it took me until yesterday to be able to process and articulate what was going on. And it just reminded me, this is what it's like for all autistic people, but particularly for our children and young adults. When we're saying to them, what's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter? And they can't tell us. I couldn't have told you on Friday, if my life depended on it, how it felt, what I needed. I just knew it felt really what we call edgy, and I needed to like get rid of it. And that's when we get into positions as autistic people when we're behaving in a way that is self-injurious or that is, you know, like potentially high risk. You know, like, I know that historically, before I had a family, what I would have done when I was feeling like that is I would have gone out with my mates on a massive bender. That's what I would have done. I'd have gone out, I'd have drunk copious amounts of Stella Artois and danced until I couldn't stand anymore. That's what I would have done. I'm 47. I'm too old for that shit now. But that's what I used to do at uni. That's how I regulated at uni. I think a lot of our young people are doing that without us realizing that that's what they're doing to self-regulate. So I wanted to share because I know many people will know this already, but it's also useful to just be reminded in that moment of absolute overwhelm and shutdown, when I could hardly speak, I felt like I was having some kind of out-of-body surreal experience. I felt like I couldn't keep my body still, but also I couldn't move it enough. I had no way of self-advocating and no way of self-regulating and calming myself. And that's where our children and young people find themselves so often. And it was useful for me to have that experience, to be reminded that when my child is dysregulated and their brain is on fire, that's what that's like on the inside. And I know everyone's different, but it just gave me some insight. Also, I had this moment when I was like, Jesus, I'm really autistic, hey. Which doesn't happen too often now. I'm kind of like, I don't have those moments of realization that often. But on Friday, I was like, fuck me, I'm so autistic. I'm mortistic. That's what we would call it in our house. I'm mortistic. Let's look at some comments and see what people are saying. People are sharing with me what they call their period. Or what they call being dysregulated. I hope this is what you call being dysregulated, Ruth. Worms. I hope that isn't what you call when Auntie Flo is visiting. I can relate to this. Good. Okay, cool. I think the delay in identifying big feelings can be why we are so bloody good in a crisis, because the overwhelm comes later. Yes. And also why we crash afterwards. Totally. Sarah, maybe a little bit of imposter syndrome too, a bit of the, is this real? Is this happening? Grounding, almost trying to distance from this phase. Is it something we find incredibly hard to process and deal with? Do you know what? This sounds so wanky, but I'm going to say it anyway, because it's something that I thought and felt. I had this moment on Friday. I also had this thing alongside it where someone was giving me a bit of trolling on my profile, which, you know, anyway, whatever. But I had this thing on Friday when I said to Chris, this must be what it's like for famous people. Not that I think I'm famous, but my socials were so busy. There were so many notifications and tags. I was getting so many messages. And I just felt like I had no room to just be in my own body and my own brain. And I just thought, God, is this what it's like when people are celebrities? Not that I'm a celebrity, but do you know what I mean? I just was like, is this what it's like? Especially for someone like me who is so married to their social media. Dog's just arrived. Do you want to go out? Legs, do you want to go out? Yes, okay. Yeah, I had that moment when I was like, can you just wait 1 minute while I finish this? Come here. Just wait a minute while I finish this live. Come and say hello. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, yoga and singing bills. I think she means balls. Yes, she does. Bowls. We try and physically process. Movement, swaying, tapping, etc. helps me. Deep pressure too. Yeah, definitely needed deep pressure. Karen, slap me. Cheryl, oh my God, this is how I feel when I come back from a run. I had to stop running because of this. I'd be too overexcited when I came back. That's interesting. So you were like elevating your physical responses and that was making you feel overwhelmed. Yeah, I needed waking up activities, definitely. Yeah. I love that our young people are getting so good at spotting when they are dysregulated and co-regulate for us too. I think this is so great for their self-confidence. Oh, I would have been stuffed without Theo on Friday. Absolutely stuffed. Andrea's saying skiing and horse riding for what you're describing, but they are too expensive now. Do you know what as well? And I'm someone who has a chronic pain and chronic fatigue condition. So some of the things that might be a work are not an option for me. Like I'm trying to build up my stamina to walking the dog again 3 times a day, but you know, skiing and horse riding would not be an option. I wouldn't manage. We roar like lions if we can't physically move due to our issues here. Make loud noises, really. Do anything physical to make us feel alive. Yeah. Do you know what I was thinking as well? When I was a teenager and when I was in my 20s, I would go out dancing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. No, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. I'd be out and like, I'd be drinking too, but I'd be on the dance floor all night. That was regulating. That was absolutely regulating. You know, I do Wigfield like 20 times in a night. It's a long time since I was in my 20s. Yes, I find it amazing that they are expected to spot it, manage it, and stay regulated in school. Right? Right? Vestibular input, yes. We pace a huge amount in our family. Yeah, we do a lot of pacing. This is so eye-opening for me. Thank you. Team needs big, strong stuff. Cams just don't get it. You know, it's like when people say to Theo, you know, in the past, you know, you need to lie still and do some deep breathing and imagine yourself on a beach. That's not a work for him. He needs to be hanging upside down on a climbing frame. That's what he needs. Or he needs to be, you know, climbing a big wall, or lifting heavy boxes, or shoveling shit at the zoo. Like, he is not a lie on the floor and contemplate his navel kind of person. You should have gone and found a park zip line. That's a good call. I expect I might break it if it's one for children. It's amazing having this put in for words. Yes, Cece, historically dancing has worked for me, but with my pain as it is, that's not necessarily a thing. I used to sing a lot to things as well. I used to sing along to things, put the music on really loud in the car. You know, I've got all the speeding tickets to prove it. My daughter regulates like that at uni, drinks and dances till 2 o'clock and then goes to the library to write essays. That was me. Not just at uni. For the first 15 years of working life, that was me. Work all day, go out at tea time, have tea, drink copious amounts of gin, go dancing, usually at the local salsa club. Go home, sleep for 2 hours, go back to work in the morning. I was very good at my job. Probably because I was really well regulated. I mean, don't get me wrong, my liver was not happy about it, but yeah. Let's see. Thank you for your amazing book and for this. I never made this link to my kids' behaviour and the way I feel when I'm aggy, which I never had a word for. Aggy, that's the word we use. Yeah, quite suffocating, those feelings sometimes. I wish I'd known these when I was a teen. I was such a risk taker, and this will be why. Me too. Oh my God. It's a wonder I made it to my 20s. I also had a thing when I was a teenager, like in my late teens. So like university years, really, from like 16 to when I graduated university. I had a thing where I'd get drunk and take all my clothes off. That's probably why burlesque was such a good work for me, because I found a channel for that. But I used to go out, get drunk, back when the clubs used to close at 2 o'clock, roll out of a club at 2, walk home. By the time I got home, I'd be naked. It wasn't sexual. I just used to want to have my clothes off. There you go. Been a nurse for years, and I noticed huge delay in dealing with big emotions, but I'm good in a crisis. Yeah. CC isn't responding to the taking the clothes off, and this is an older comment. I couldn't regulate after, and I got into an addictive cycle because of the chemical release. I think that's really common for ADHDers as well. If we're so seeking dopamine, you know, and like things like stimulants have calming effects on our brain, and depressives have like arousing effects on our brain. That's why so many of us end up with alcohol dependency. Louise, I read your book yesterday in one sitting. I cried, laughed, and said, fuck yeah, a lot. There was a part when you said about driving, and that was me 5 years ago. I've never made the connection with myself and actually should have done. I'm getting utter bullshit from school and now have the motivation to deal with them. I think I know which bit you mean. I'm sending you some love, Louise, if it's a bit I think it is. Thank you. You always make me feel like I'm not going mad and understood my son better. I mean, you might be going mad, Leslie. Don't assume that just because it's relatable, that means you're sane. Jokes. Michelle, we often have a mini kitchen disco on a Friday evening to try to reset. Yeah. Here we go. Cheryl, a couple of suggestions that a switched on professional gave was to rip up paper or pummel a beanbag or even get a punch bag. Ripping up paper. That would be good. I have found that I do smash things. Like when I'm dysregulated. Usually when I'm dysregulated through distress, I'll smash a plate. Like consciously, like I'll get it out the cupboard and I'll throw it on the floor. And that gives me some relief. I don't know if you've read Fern Brady's book, Strong Female Character. She talks about being later identified autistic, and she talks about how her meltdowns were always physical, and she used to smash her house up and smash the flat up, and she didn't know why. That, I could totally relate to that. Singing, good for you. Is good for you, not good for you. Deb, facing a fear. I'm terrified of water, so try to go paddleboarding when I feel like this. Wow, talk about pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. It's physical, and my mind switches from spinning 1,000,000 miles an hour to focusing on not dying. And then I get back onto land and I'm alive, and it feels amazing. It's not so physical that my dodgy hips and knees can take it. I have a seat on my paddleboard, and the cold water helps with pain. I tell you what, cold water swimming was a work for me for a good while. Were you always the last man standing too? Yes. And I had this thing where at parties, definitely, I was the last person. I didn't like to leave. But I had this thing in nightclubs where I'd want to leave at 1:20. 1:20 would hit and I'd want to go home. And that was because I wanted to get home or get to the taxi rank. We were going in the taxi, this was, before 2:00 and get home and not have to stand in a queue for ages. But yeah, very often, last person on the dance floor, very often. My 13-year-old ADHD struggles because he needs big movement sensations and wants to swing from the highest place going, but then he's terribly frightened of heights and stuff like that, so can't. I'm not going to pretend that you might not have tried these things, Kate, but a couple of things that have worked for us. We have an egg chair in our living room, which my son sits on, as his main piece of furniture. So it's a garden piece of furniture, but it's an egg chair, he swings. We also have, not currently, but we've historically used a gorilla gym in the doorway. So they have a ladder and a swing function and you can swing. But again, you might already have all of those things. But yeah, I get the heights thing. Theo adores climbing. I don't know if you've tried climbing. And he also adores Go Ape. That's one of his things. That's what my son does, but he can't quite figure out why he does it, and he's very physical. Can I ask how you managed to get diagnosed and what route you took? We went private eventually, Louise. I had a referral through the NHS for a pre-screening assessment for autism, when they basically said that I was high functioning and that I wouldn't be autistic because I had a relationship and had held down a job and made good eye contact, was chatty, and I put lipstick on. So I ended up going private. For both of us, and I know that's a position of privilege. We saved up for it, but yeah, it was a good move. Also, self-ID is valid, though. That's really interesting. I don't have a really great relationship with alcohol, especially at times of stress, and that may explain some of it. I've just recently been looking into my own neurotype whilst researching my son's autism. I am also incredibly calm in a crisis, but it hits me a few days later and I can really crash. Yeah, that's relatable for me. These dogs need to go out. Kate, so interesting listening to an adult talk about the inner workings of dysregulation. As a parent, I see so much of this in my 8-year-old. She is looking for the feeling of falling when she's in meltdown. Scares the life out of us both, but good to know where it comes from. Swings might help. I don't like swings now, but as a kid, I loved swinging really high on things and being upside down. Cheryl, I have 5 children, 4 diagnosed. They are all different, and my middle son wears the minimum of clothing in the room. He would come in from school and strip off. My youngest daughter awaiting an autism diagnosis, but social, emotional, mental health, and possibly PTSD, gets really angry, used to destroy things when dysregulated in school. I have pushed for an echo therapy. Yeah. Provision for my daughter. Yeah, so I hope that's helpful, just to have that shared. I had a bit of an aha moment with it. A Morton Harkett moment, as we call it in our house. These dogs. Stop it. Also to say, Unstoppable Parent starts on Thursday. If you're not already down with it and you don't know what's happening, if you go to my website, I'll put a link on. You'll be able to find some information. So it's a 5-week program, and we start on Thursday night. There are payment plans available if you would like it. I'll pop a link up. 1 second. And we do still have some spaces. So it's a 5-week program that's run by me and Kate Jones, who's a neurodivergent psychotherapist. And it's not an EHCP program. It's a program about managing and understanding your own coping mechanisms. So there's a week on inner self-critic. There's a week on regulating. There's a week on setting boundaries and telling people to get stuffed without being rude, because none of us want to be rude, apparently. Who knew? So yeah, if you're interested in that, go ahead and have a look on the website. Get yourself signed up. We start on Thursday. Yeah, I hope that's helpful. I will see you all soon. I have got to go and do some prep before tribunal, which is on Wednesday. Probably another good reason for me feeling all kinds of discombobulated. But yeah, I'll keep you posted. And enjoy your day, or just have a day. Have a day. That's what I'm doing now. I'm not saying have a good day. I'm just saying have a day. That's all I can promise you. The day will pass. I'm brilliantly bonkers. I mean, thanks. Yeah, tribunal is Wednesday. Obviously, I'll keep you posted. Have a day, everyone. It's so easy to say have a great day. Have a day, everyone. See you all soon. Take care.